Hi class, today we dive into the historical context that forms the backdrop against which black male writers have articulated their experiences, ideas, and aspirations. We begin in the late 18th century with the abolitionist movement, which saw figures like Olaudah Equiano and Phyllis Wheatley, though not male but significantly, using their literary skills to challenge the inhumanity of slavery. Their narratives were instrumental in propelling the abolitionist movement forward, shedding light on the brutality of transatlantic slave trade. Now, as we move into the 19th century, we see a continuation of this literary activism with Frederick Douglass, whose autobiography not only exposed the horrors of slavery, but also challenged prevailing notions of black inferiority. His narrative was a stark exposition of slavery's dehumanizing effects, and he used his platform to advocate for abolition, giving voice to the voiceless, which was a common theme that would continue to resonate in black male writings throughout the centuries. Now, transitioning into the early 20th century, the Harlem Renaissance emerged as a pivotal moment in black literary and cultural expression, with figures like Langston Hughes, Claude McKay, and W.E.B. Du Bois, who not only celebrated black culture but also critiqued a society rife with racial injustice. Their writings reflected a vibrant, unapologetic assertion of black identity and aspirations for equality and recognition. With the mid-20th century came the Civil Rights Movement and the Black Power Movement, each with its own cadre of writers like James Baldwin, Amiri Baraka, and Eldridge Cleaver, who through their writings interrogated systemic racism, explored black masculinity, and called for political and social change. Their works were not merely reflected, but were calls to action, engaging with the pressing issues of their time. As we progress to the late 20th and early 21st centuries, we see a diversification of themes and styles among black male writers. Figures like Ta-Nehisi Coates, Colson Whitehead, and Teju Cole engage with historical and contemporary racial and social issues, but also venture into realms of speculative fiction, microhistories, and global diaspora experiences, showing the expansive range and depth of black male literary expression. Through each of these eras, the social, political, and economic landscape significantly influenced the thematic preoccupations of black male writers. The fight against slavery, the struggle for civil rights, the exploration of black identity, masculinity, and the critique of systemic racism are threads that run through the tapestry of black male literary tradition, making it a rich field for exploration and analysis. So as we delve deeper into this course, it's imperative to keep these historical contexts in mind, understanding that the works of black male writers do not exist in a vacuum, but are dialogic, engaging with, reflecting, and responding to the societal conditions and discourses of their respective eras. This historical awareness will provide a nuanced lens through which to analyze and appreciate the works we will be studying. And with that, we will be better equipped to explore the multidimensional narratives presented by black male writers across different periods and regions. Class, today we step into the realm of literary traditions, a crucial arena to understand the stylistic and thematic choices of black male writers. Our journey begins in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, where the narrative tradition was forming a significant platform for black voices. The slave narrative, for instance, was instrumental in shedding light on the lived experiences of enslaved individuals. Writers like Frederick Douglass, with his narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave, not only gave a first-hand account of slavery's atrocities, but also utilized a literary style that challenged the intellectual prejudices held against black individuals at the time. Now, moving into the 20th century, we encounter the Harlem Renaissance, a period of a fluorescence of black creativity. Writers, poets, and intellectuals converged in Harlem, creating a vibrant literary and cultural scene. Here we see a shift towards a more poetic and fictional narrative, with writers like Langston Hughes and Claude McKay employing verse to express the black experience. To celebrate black culture and challenge racial prejudice, their works are imbued with a sense of pride, resilience, and call for equality and social justice. As we transition into the 1940s and 1950s, the narrative evolves with a growing body of fiction that delves into the socio-political conditions of black life. Richard Wright's Native Son, for instance, examines systemic oppression and the consequences of racial prejudice through a dramatic and harrowing narrative. Like alongside others like Ralph Ellison, employed a more nuanced and complex narrative style to explore the multifaceted experiences of Black individuals navigating a racially segregated society. In the subsequent decade, the Black arts movement emerged as a response to the civil rights movement, fostering a more militant and unapologetic expression of Black identity. Writers like Amiri Baraka sought to break away from traditional literary forms, adopting a more confrontational and provocative style to challenge the status quo and advocate for racial justice and cultural pride. In recent times, we see a diversification in literary genres, with Black male writers venturing into speculative fiction, historical narratives, and essays. Writers like Colson Whitehead and Ta-Nehisi Coates engage with historical and contemporary racial issues, but also explore universal themes of identity, belonging, and the human condition. Their works reflect a blending of traditional and contemporary narrative forms, showcasing the evolution and richness of Black male literary tradition. It's crucial to note how these literary traditions are not merely stylistic choices, but deeply intertwined with the social, political, and cultural dialogues happening at each historical juncture. As we delve into the works of these writers, understanding these literary traditions will provide a more grounded and enriched perspective from which to engage with the text. It's through this lens that we will continue to explore the diverse narrative strategies employed by Black male writers to articulate their unique experiences, critique societal norms, and envision a more equitable and just society. We are delving into a crucial framework of analysis, intersectionality, which helps in understanding the layered experiences reflected in the works of Black male writers. Coined by Kimball Crenshaw in 1989, intersectionality is a lens through which you can explore how race, class, gender, and other individual characteristics intersect with one another and overlap. Now let's apply this to the literary arena. When examining the works of Black male writers, it's essential to consider how their racial identity intersects with other aspects of their identity, such as gender, class, and even nationality. These intersections often play a critical role in shaping the narrative, themes, and character dynamics in their works. Let's consider the works of James Baldwin, for instance. Baldwin's narratives often delve into not only racial tensions, but also sexual identity and socioeconomic conditions, portraying a rich, multifaceted examination of human and societal interactions. His novel Giovanni's Rhyme is a departure from racial themes, but delves deeply into issues of sexuality and societal expectations, showcasing how various aspects of identity can be explored in literature. Similarly, when we analyze works like Native Son by Richard Wright, it's imperative to understand how the protagonist's actions and societal perceptions are shaped by an interplay of race, class, and gender. The systemic structures and individual prejudices depicted in the narrative are a reflection of the complex, intertwined societal attitudes of the time. Now, moving on to a more broad perspective, when we examine the works of Black male writers outside the United States, say Chinua Achebe from Nigeria or Soyinka, it's crucial to consider the colonial and post-colonial context and how these intersect with their exploration of masculinity, tradition, and modernity. Their narratives often challenge or interrogate traditional roles and the impact of colonial histories on contemporary identities and social structures. Moreover, contemporary writers like Ta-Nehisi Coates continue this tradition of intersectional analysis. In Between the World and Me, Coates explores how the American social and political landscape impacts Black bodies, intertwining narratives of race, fatherhood, and socioeconomic conditions to provide a profound critique of American society. In essence, intersectionality provides a richer, more nuanced lens for analyzing the works of Black male writers. It allows us to see beyond a singular narrative and delve into the multidimensional experiences portrayed in these literary works. As we progress through this course, employing an intersectional lens will be instrumental in appreciating the depth and breadth of the narratives and in understanding the complex dialogues these writers are engaging in through their works. As we venture into the works of different writers in the coming weeks, I encourage you to actively engage with this intersectional lens, to question, to analyze, and to delve deeper into the layered narratives presented to you. This approach will not only enrich your understanding, but also foster more insightful discussions as we dissect the various works in this course. All right, class, today we are going to dive into the lives and works of some early influential black male writers whose literary contributions laid a robust foundation for those who followed. Our exploration starts with Olaudah an enslaved African who secured his freedom and penned the interesting narrative of the life of Olaudah, a seminal work that detailed his life in enslavement and as a free man. His narrative played a vital role in exposing the cruelties of the transatlantic slave trade and was instrumental in the abolitionist movement. Transitioning into the 19th century, we encounter Frederick Douglass, a monumental figure whose narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave, served as a piercing critique of slavery. His articulate and insightful narrative debunked many of the prevailing racist notions of his time, showcasing the intellect and humanity of enslaved individuals. Douglass also engaged in various social reform movements, wielding his pen and voice against the injustices of his time. Phyllis Wheatley, although not a male, is noteworthy as she, like Equiano, utilized her literary prowess to challenge the status quo, and her interactions with prominent male writers and abolitionists of her time underscored the interconnected literary and abolitionist networks that existed. Now, as we move forward into the early 20th century, W.B. Boyd stands as a towering intellectual figure. His collection of essays, The Souls of Black Folk, explores the concept of double consciousness, a term he coined to describe the internal conflict experienced by African Americans navigating a racially segregated society. His exploration of Black identity consciousness and the struggle for recognition significantly influenced Black literary tradition. Booker T. Washington, another key figure, provided a contrasting ideology to Du Bois, advocating for vocational training as a means for Black advancement. His autobiography, Up From Slavery, offers insights into his life, philosophy, and the socio-political landscape of his era. Transitioning into the Harlem Renaissance, we encounter writers like Claude McKay and Langston Hughes, whose poetry and prose celebrated Black culture, explored the Black experience, and challenged racial prejudice. Their works were instrumental in shaping the Harlem Renaissance and influencing subsequent Black literary tradition.